This is Second Act Sessions with Stephanie Carmody, a podcast celebrating second acts in life about embracing change, questioning the status quo, and having conversations that really matter. If I've learned anything, it's that your second act is yours to define. No matter what chapter you're in, your second act can be the most powerful yet. Welcome to Second Act Sessions. So welcome back, everybody. I'm thrilled to announce my next guest, Tom Nikkola. Am I pronouncing that right, Tom?
You are,
Nikkola?
actually.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, you are a personal trainer, a nutrition coach, as well as you are a certified strength and conditioning specialist. And thank you so much, because I came across you online on social media, and you were doing so many posts on the MTHFR gene. And that rings so true to me, because not my entire family, but a lot of my family members, we all discovered within the past year that we have that gene. Yeah. I believe everyone has it, but we have the, I guess, sort of the, I don't know what you want to call it, but like the mutation of it. Yep. Variant mutation, exactly. And so I've just learned so much about it over, just personally within my family. And then to see you speaking on it, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot wait to speak with you, because you're so knowledgeable. And so many of your posts really rang true to me, and things that I'm doing as far as supplements and just being more aware of it. And so that's something I really wanted to get into today. But before we do that, again, welcome again. Thank you so much. I would love for you to first just give us a little bit about your background. How did you get into personal training and fitness and all of that? I'd love to kind of, hear your story, so to speak.
So I started, I guess, even before getting into personal training, I had leukemia when I was 4 years old. And so as a little kid, I spent a lot of time at the Mayo Clinic, going back and forth, even all the way up until I was about 18 years old. And that really stirred my interest in medicine at the time. I mean, I grew up as a kid wanting to be a doctor. I loved what the doctors did. And even though it was painful doing spinal taps and bone marrows for years and years when I would go and see them, I still really appreciated it, even as a young kid.
Right.
I grew up with the idea that I was going to be a doctor. Went to school in Duluth, Minnesota, with a degree in pre-med. And after a couple of years, I started talking to doctors as I was contemplating medical school, and a lot of them ended up talking me out of the idea of going into medical school. And they said, if you're really interested in helping people be healthy and fit, you're better off doing something where you can be more proactive for them rather than treating diseases. And there's like 6 doctors that I had met. And interestingly, I met them because I was selling Cutco cutlery while I was to pay for school. And I happened to be in their homes, and the doctors were home, and they had these conversations with me. So that led me more down the path of exercise physiology. My degree was actually pre-med biology, but the coursework was pretty much exercise phys. And that got me more passionate about health and fitness. After college, I started as a personal trainer. And one of the things from day one that I felt strongly about, this was back in 2001, was the importance of nutrition when you're working with somebody on a fitness program. When I started at Lifetime, which is a huge fitness organization across the United States, when I started, we were told you cannot talk to your clients about nutrition. That's only for registered dietitians. That's outside your scope. And I was like, there's no way that I'm going to not talk to people about what they're eating and what they should be supplementing with. So I kind of broke the rules right away.
It goes hand in hand, though.
Yeah, it does.
It goes hand in hand. So it makes no sense why they would want you not to. That's crazy.
So as time went on, I grew up, had different roles at Lifetime, manager and then regional manager, and eventually I ended up at the corporate office, and my first role was to run the nutrition program, because I had been so outspoken about my frustration with the dietitians who were recommending low-fat, high-carbohydrate diets. Gluten is fine, like all of this stuff that today most in the natural health world would scratch their head at. But back then, it still wasn't as people weren't as open about it as they are today. So I took over that program. That led into me running the supplement business, lab testing, metabolic testing, fitness devices for the company. And so this is where it gets into MTHFR then, is as we started looking at reformulating nutritional supplements at the time. I mean, again, this was back 2010-ish. There was folic acid in the multivitamin because that's what you put in it at the time. But as we were
Yeah.
reformulating, even back then, we met with a bunch of doctors and experts in nutritional products, and they emphasized the importance of using methylfolate. Of course, methylfolate is what you want, is one of the forms of B vitamins that you want when you have the MTHFR mutation. But even in general, and we'll get into MTHFR in a little bit, but even those who don't have MTHFR variants, they'd still be better off with methylated folate than synthetic folic acid. But because we were changing the formulas, I had to do a lot of education for the trainers and the nutrition coaches across lifetime about what made this formula unique. I mean, we made all of the ingredients were much more bioavailable, including the B vitamins. And so that was when my interest in MTHFR really started. But I would say it hasn't been, so that was probably 15 years ago. It's only been over the last 3 or so years where people have really started talking about it a lot more. And I've noticed over this past year, as I've spoken about it more, there's more people that are more knowledgeable about it. It's not a deer in the headlights thing when you talk about the MTHFR gene. So that's kind of the quick background on how I arrived here. About a year ago, I just started talking about MTHFR more on Instagram, and my account started taking off like crazy. And so I noticed there was a strong interest in MTHFR, and there are a lot of issues that when people have the more extreme, either the more extreme variants, or they may even have a less extreme, like maybe they just have one mutation out of the two, and their methylation, which again, we'll get into that, isn't as bad. They can still have a number of problems that they've been frustrated with for decades, and nobody's given them good answers. So that could be
exactly it.
Neurological, it could be cardiovascular, it could be miscarriages, and so anyway, that kind of brings us up to today quickly.
No, I love that. And I think I'm so glad you didn't go the Western medicine route then, and you're doing what you're doing now, because I do think this is such an important topic. And obviously, I don't know how well you would have done, because you would be like, I'm not doing that. Like, this is what I want to help people with. So good for you, right? I want everyone to understand, what is the MTHFR gene, and how do you go about identifying it? I think one of the things that I've learned over the past couple years is the importance of getting one genetic test in your life. And I've heard you really only need one, because that's your genes. They don't change. Right. And it's good to kind of get that assessment, which is something that I feel like Western medicine isn't really talking about. I've never really been told you should get a genetic test. And then what I did last year was I got my parents tested. We've done a lot of testing on my niece as well. And then I got tested for the MTHFR, because to your point, even for me, I've been not diagnosed, but self-diagnosed with like ADHD. And then I'm also going through like perimenopause. And there's some days where I'm like, what is going on with me and my brain? Like, what is it? And then when I found the kind of like the missing piece of the mutation that I have, and I forget which one, I'd have to go check my test. It kind of made sense that, okay, that makes sense to me. It's part of what I'm dealing with, right? I mean, trying to figure it out on my own, of course. But so let's go back and explain what is the MTHFR gene, and a little bit about how significant it is if you have a mutation.
Yep. So the MTHFR stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. So it's an enzyme that helps to convert folic acid into natural folate. And when the interest in fortifying foods and having people take more folate in general really stemmed from the fact that when women are low in folate, it dramatically increases the risk of neural tube defects when they're pregnant. And because of that, we started fortifying our foods with a very cheap and synthetic form of folate called folic acid. And so that's been in the United States. I can't remember how long it's been now since we've been fortifying grains, but pretty much any of the processed foods that have grains in them, you're going to find synthetic folic acid in there. The problem with it is that about 40 to 60% of the population has one or two variants which reduce the ability to convert synthetic folic acid into natural folate. So even if they're supplementing, they're not getting the benefit of folate that they think that they are. So in the case of a woman who has a more extreme, like two of the variants where they may have a 60 to 70% reduction in their ability to convert synthetic folic acid to natural folate, she may still end up having problems during pregnancy. Neurotube defects can still show up, even though she may be taking a prenatal multivitamin that has synthetic folic acid in it, thinking she's doing the right thing. And because most doctors aren't talking about it strongly enough, people don't know. So one option, as you mentioned, is that someone could get tested up front and just know, like, do I have an issue with MTHFR and some of the other genes that affect methylation? Or like there are times when somebody will come to me and they'll say, well, I've been dealing with mood issues, brain fog, detox issues, like some of the other issues that people can develop because of MTHFR. And they'll say, before we start doing something, should I get tested? And a lot of times they'll say, well, we should just start dealing with what you're dealing with. You can get tested and that's no problem. So whether you get tested or deal with the issues doesn't matter so much. But I would say for someone who is, one, looking to become pregnant, or two, is considering SSRIs, those are two times when before moving forward, it would be a good idea to have a test done, because the outcome of it can be something detrimental, especially if you make the wrong choice around nutritional supplements in your diet. So
Right. Because if you have the mutation, it's affecting your ability to methylate, correct?
Yes. Correct.
Right. And so what is methylation? Can you define that, so people understand, and it's not about supplements, it's about any food that you eat. If you have a variant or what have you, that's being, in a way, I heard someone, I think Gary Brecka is the only other person I've seen who's really been discussing this outside of yourself. And I think he used an analogy of if you're putting all this food inside of you, what's happening is instead of it being able to convert and change and be in a digestible form, your body's not able to do that. And I'm sure I'm getting that kind of wrong, but that's along the lines, rather your body's not able to absorb.
You're not able to convert the nutrients in food.
Right.
To the way that your body needs them. And MTHFR, we're more specifically talking about folate. And folate is involved in a process called methylation, where your body is donating what are called the methyl groups in order, and this happens millions of times per second, to aid in detoxification, to produce neurotransmitters, to again, in the case of pregnancy, to help with the development of the fetus so that it doesn't develop neurotube defects. There's so many aspects of our health that are affected by methylation that let me put it another way. There's barely anything that happens in our body where methylation isn't involved. Hormones as well. What can happen, because you brought this up at the beginning, is women will start getting into perimenopause, and because their hormones are shifting and they're dealing with MTHFR issues, now all of a sudden their neurotransmitter balance is getting out of whack. So they're developing anxiety. Sometimes it shows up as heart palpitations. They're not sleeping as well. So methylation it isn't dependent only on MTHFR, but because so much of the population has these variants, it's one of the things that is affecting the ability to methylate more than anything else. And that's why of all of the genes, it tends to get talked about more than COMT or MTRR or some of the other methylation related genes.
What are some of the symptoms? I think you mentioned a couple, but what are some of the symptoms that people can be on the lookout for? And that may include, maybe they have a MTHFR mutation or not, but what are some of the symptoms, maybe more of the common symptoms?
The more common ones, I'll talk about neurological first. So MTHFR is definitely involved in issues of obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, somewhat anxiety, although it's a little more indirect as it relates to anxiety, but definitely with depression. there is a strong correlation, and again, this doesn't mean MTHFR causes it, so I want to be cautious about how I phrase this, but
Sure.
there's a strong correlation between MTHFR variants or mutations and autism. That is the autism thing is such a crucial topic over these past 5 years. I'm not at all saying MTHFR is the only reason, but I look at MTHFR in general when you have variants as amplifying the risk that you're going to develop something. It's not necessarily always the cause of it. And in autism, if a child has the MTHFR mutation, there's going to be a greater risk of autism according to the research. It can show up, and this is a little bit more common in men, as cardiovascular issues because it can lead to blood clots. So that can be heart attacks, strokes. In women during their cycle, they may notice more clotting if they have MTHFR mutations, and if they have unmanaged MTHFR mutations, I should say. So managed means they're doing what they can with their nutrition and their supplements. It can reduce your ability to detoxify. So I see a lot of clients who have MTHFR, and if it was percentage over the last 2 weeks, I would say 50% of the clients that I've seen, all of them have had MTHFR mutations. Half of them have dealt with mold issues. And so is it possible that people that were dealing with mold just happen to find my account and book consultations? That's a possibility. But there is a strong correlation with mold issues and MTHFR, other detoxification issues, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, which is really a collection of problems. So MCAS, not to go too far sideways, but that's where that's where people are developing issues like anxiety and rashes and food intolerances, or they walk into Sephora or a candle store and they get an immediate headache or nauseous because their body is just overreacting and their mast cells are overreacting, seeing all of these different things as potential threats. Mast cells release histamine and other cytokines or inflammatory compounds. So there's a strong correlation between having MTHFR mutation and the development of MCAS and other histamine intolerances as well. That's another super common thing. So if people
I've heard about that too.
Yep.
Like in my family, I have a lot of digestive issues too that I think are part of the MTHFR, whether like leaky gut, like I had it, my niece sort of had it. She has like some issues with her health that's how all of this really kind of came out. In helping her, we all started kind of helping the whole family and realizing how it's all passed down. A lot of it, some of it's genetics, some of it is medically induced, obviously, because there's a lot of toxins out there, medical, environmental, and even our food is so toxic right now. A lot of it is, and it's hard to eat very healthy. And I think that's where a lot of the food sensitivities come into play too, because a lot of it is really all connected, but it's hard to kind of figure out what's really leading the charge, right? And so I think it's the whole process. For me anyways, I found it's been like a process, and like, all right, let me try this supplement, or let me look into this, and obviously speak with someone like you, because I just think it's so important. Health is very important to me, and I'm more aligned with the holistic alternative approach, and I just want to share things like this for people who may not be getting this information from their primary care provider. If they're more Western medicine skewed, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like sometimes those doctors may not be sharing this type of information. And for me, I think it's so important to get at the root cause of any illness or any disease. And I think looking at genetics and beyond is a great starting point, right? So I have seen your post on the MCASs, so I find that very interesting too. And I feel like after a while, you end up going down a lot of different rabbit holes. At least I did, like trying to find this or trying to heal this, and just reading and researching. And then, doing blood work, I think is great every year. I do blood work every year with my doctor, and then doing some genetic testing. I haven't done a full genetic test on myself. I just did the MTHFR test. So I'm in the process and I'm getting there. I will say, when we talk about genetic testing, I know there's so many out there that you can look into. Do you have any specific brands, if you are recommending genetic testing, that you prefer?
Yeah, the two most common that I'll recommend, if you're in the United States, I recommend LifeDNA. They
Okay.
they do 12 methylation related genes, and I like
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
people will say, well, there's other ones that do like 100. Well, that's great. So what are you going to do with spending the extra $300 and a bunch of more information that might not be applicable? Those
Yeah.
12 you can actually use and learn from, and take that information and make your health better. So that's the one that I recommend in the United States. They only, to my knowledge, at this point, still only ship in the United States. Otherwise,
Yep.
there is DNA Power is one. They're based in Canada, and they ship
Okay.
internationally. So if you've got some
Oh,
international
great.
audience,
Okay.
that would be the one that I would point people to.
Yeah.
So
That's
both of
good to
those are
know.
good. I mean, there
That's
are
re-
other good DNA panels. I'm not saying those are the only two, but they're the ones that I rely on the most. And when my clients get those and then come to me for a consultation, I mean, we can actually put together a solid action plan. There's other ones where,
Right.
like if you do 23andMe, you can get
Yep.
MTHFR and COMT, but you have to export your data and send it to a different site in order to translate it, and it's very clunky. These are
Yeah.
straightforward. They come out right in the report.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we did. Ours was like a swab, and very
Yep.
simple. You send it in, you get it back in a week or so. I did it for my mom, and I think mine was very similar. And I think my sister initially got recommended some of these tests from her like doctor. She works like a functional wellness sort of professional,
Yeah.
and they were giving her some options. So they're out there. I think you just need to ask, your professional. So I wanted to say that low methylation can make it harder for the body to produce serotonin and dopamine and GABA. Because I know on your post we talk about that. Can you,
Yeah.
I guess, sort of explain that connection, how all that works? Because here I am going, well, what's my serotonin levels and my dopamine? And I'm like, well, what supplement do I need for that? And I do think with supplements, it can get very overwhelming very fast. So
Oh, yeah.
for me, I like to start with, here's my blood work. What am I deficient in? I start there with my doctor. And then knowing myself and knowing I have the MTHFR mutation, okay, I know, I heard it was important to take magnesium, but a certain type, so I do that. I've heard like B6 was really important to take, so I've done that. And then for like the anxiety and ADHD or whatever all of that is encompassing, I take some ginseng, like a natural supplement. And then Dr. Amen, he recommended like these happy pills that have saffron.
Yep.
And I feel like between that and the ginseng, for me, that has been like a game changer where like I feel my brain is sharp. And again, to your point, like I think there's so many different symptoms. Is it the perimenopause? Is it my MTHFR, right? Like it can be overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe can you start by explaining the connection between the serotonin, the dopamine, and how all that works together, I guess,
Yeah.
and how it's
Yeah.
affected by this mutation.
Yep. So, in order to produce the neurotransmitters dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, that process requires methylation. So, if methylation is reduced because of the MTHFR mutation, it's going to be more challenging to produce those neurotransmitters, which means it's going to affect how you're feeling, what your mood is like, what your sleep is like. So GABA is like the brakes on your nervous system. And if you're laying in bed, your mind is reeling, you just can't shut your mind off. Usually that's a GABA issue. If you're waking up in the middle of the night and your brain is on like that, that can be GABA. It can also be with perimenopause, it can be a change in your hormones, which if you have both, then that amplifies things. But so that's GABA. Serotonin is really the one that makes you feel good, makes you feel calm. It's not as calming and like shut your mind off as GABA, but it definitely is an important neurotransmitter to just feel good. And then it also precedes melatonin production. So both serotonin and GABA affect your ability to sleep. And then you've got dopamine, which is your reward neurotransmitter. So if you have low dopamine, you're going to constantly be searching for something to just make you feel good, to just not feel like you just want to be a sloth on the couch. If you have too much dopamine, you're going to feel overstimulated. But for the most part, with MTHFR, there's going to be a reduction in each of those neurotransmitters. By itself, that might not be problematic because you do produce those neurotransmitters in the gut. But I'll just tell a little story because I'm sure there's
Sure.
there's people in your audience, both men and women, who might relate to this because
Yeah.
it happens in both men and women. I've had this same story play out, I think, 3 times over the last week or so with clients. They'll tell me about how they have always felt anxious, always had anxiety. They're, maybe as a kid they were urged to get on ADHD medication or SSRI or some other kind of mood stabilizing medication. And in some cases they did, in some cases they didn't. So they'll often tell me the story. Then I'll ask them, were you ever sick as a kid? Oh, yes, I was. Did you use antibiotics? Yes, I did. Were you breastfed? No, I wasn't. And this isn't always the way it plays out, but it did actually play out
Right.
3 times in this past week, where
Wow.
there was antibiotic use, frequent anxiety throughout life, and again, these were adults in their 40s to 50s. And then they were breastfed they were not breastfed as kids. They were bottle fed. So they had formula. And so the connection there is they have MTHFR mutations, which do reduce neurotransmitter production. But then when you have a dysfunctional gut or dysbiosis, and they also talked about like having SIBO or some kind of other gut microbiome dysfunction, when that plays out, you're not producing neurotransmitters in your gut, and you produce like 70% of serotonin is produced in the gut. A good majority of GABA and dopamine is as well. So like that's a double whammy if you're not producing enough because you're not methylating properly, and your gut is dysfunctional. Well, now you're going to be dealing with symptoms of anxiety, ADHD, can't calm the mind, can't go to sleep. So the solution isn't necessarily just take folate, methylfolate, and all your problems will be solved. I mean, you might benefit from taking GABA itself, pharma-GABA, which is the form that's the most bioavailable, in order to get GABA levels up and be able to shut your mind down in the evening, and then work on your gut in order to help produce more neurotransmitters through your gut, while you're also supplementing appropriately to support methylation and MTHFR. So that could be a high-quality multivitamin with methylated B vitamins. I don't usually recommend just a standalone methylfolate or B12. The first step is a quality multi that has all of the micronutrients in it. There's other cofactors for methylation, like choline, that you need. Eggs, of course, are a valuable source of that. But multivitamin and creatine is another supplement that doesn't get nearly enough attention. It actually supports methylation as well. So those are a couple of supplements that I'll just recommend very regularly.
You'll recommend.
Yeah.
Is there a way can you test for serotonin and dopamine and GABA levels? Is that like a basic blood test, or how do you test for those, just out of curiosity?
There are neuroscience tests that can test for it. I'm on the fence. Like I'll have people do consultations with me who've had the testing done, and I certainly review their test results and try to give some education behind it. It's not something that I regularly recommend, just because you can get like 90% accurate just based on how people are feeling, and then how they respond to different nutrition and supplement strategies and that kind of thing. So
Got it.
I love testing, but I also understand there's a limit to how much people want to spend on finding things out about their
costly.
body, and it's very expensive.
So then if someone has this MTHFR mutation and they're displaying some of these symptoms, what are you then, I guess, as a first step, sharing with your clients as far as how to treat it? Is it first through supplements, would you say? And if so, in addition to getting on a good folate supplement or creatine, which I have heard a lot about, I want to talk to you about that, because I'm like, do I need to be on creatine now? You know what I mean? It's like, what else? I want to give you a picture of everything I'm taking, and I know I need to take it, but I'm like, well, what else do I need to add? So I guess I'd love to know, what are you recommending? What's the starting point then? If someone's coming to you with these symptoms, you suspect it's MTHFR, what are you recommending?
So I look at it like you've got nutrition, lifestyle, exercise, and supplements. And I know that the most common question that I'll get from people is, what supplements should I be taking? And I'm always hesitant to just say, here's the supplements that help with MTHFR, because that it's not that different than saying, hey, I have this disease, what medication should I take? We have to address the thing holistically. So nutrition, lifestyle, and exercise are just as important, if not more important than supplements are. In terms of the supplements, though, like I go with what I'd call my foundational 5. So a high quality multivitamin that's got methylated B vitamins in it, omega 3s, magnesium glycinate or threonate. So there are a variety of magnesium forms. You mentioned that earlier, and glycinate is the best for helping with whole body magnesium levels. Magnesium threonate, there's only one company that makes this specific form of magnesium, but you can find it from different supplement brands. Magnesium threonate is the only one that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So in terms of supporting sleep, cognitive function, helping with aging, magnesium threonate would definitely be the one to go with, but it is much more expensive, and so I'll usually just recommend glycinate to start with, and then depending on what people need, maybe look at the threonate. And then we've got...
So you don't need to take both magnesiums necessarily. You could take one or the other?
Initially? Yeah, to start with. I do have clients that I have taking both, but that's not the norm.
Both? You can't?
Most common is just starting with glycinate. I want to mention one thing, though, because I know from all your followers, listeners, it's going to happen with a few people. Magnesium glycinate is magnesium plus glycine. So it's bound to the amino acid glycine that helps to bring the magnesium into your bloodstream. So some people, and my estimate just from working with people is probably about 5%, will actually feel energized and awakened, and even sometimes a little jittery from glycine itself. Again, it's only like 5% of the time, but for most clients, I'll tell them take your magnesium in the evening because it helps to calm your mind and helps you to relax, and glycine should do that as well. But there are some people who have a paradoxical reaction to it, and so if you're among those, what I would suggest is just take it in the morning with breakfast for a couple of weeks. And the majority of time for that small percentage of people, it will start to feel more calming for them, and then they can take it in the evening. I say that because I don't want somebody to be like, oh my gosh, this did the opposite, and it kept me out, it gave me insomnia. So I think that, I don't remember if I said vitamin D and K2 or not, that would be... No,
you didn't, but I do take vitamin D with K2. Yeah. I know that's important.
Yeah, and that one, awesome. Just as a side note, the K2 in there is not only important in terms of vitamin D assimilation, but K2 also helps with directing calcium from your arteries to your bones, so that you're using the calcium that you're supplementing with to improve your bone health. It's directed to your bones. So there's been some research for women showing that too much calcium can actually increase cardiovascular risk, and that is the case if you're supplementing with high doses of calcium and not getting enough K2. So just side note there.
Interesting.
And then the last one would be a good digestive enzyme, and I'll just name this one because I haven't said specific brands on these others, but I like Thorne's Advanced Digestive Enzyme product because it contains acids as well as enzymes. So there's a lot of digestive enzymes on the market, and they do help with the breakdown of carbohydrates, fats, protein. Predominantly protein and fat is what people have trouble with. But if there's not enough acidity in the stomach, those enzymes don't get activated properly. So I do think for the majority of people, helping to increase the acidity of their stomach actually helps with digestion, and then going into the impact that can have on gut health and gut permeability and autoimmune issues. I look at digestive enzymes as
I have that too. Yeah. It's so funny you say that because lately I have, I've had it all. You wouldn't notice looking at me. I work out 3 times a week with my personal trainer. I don't eat much. I eat clean, organic, but I still have a lot of issues that I've learned through the years how to navigate and how to deal. And one is taking the digestive enzymes. And I'm finding as I'm getting older, I have to take it more often. Even I'm going out to eat, I should take them because, I might eat something. I have food sensitivities as well. But I'm finding now And you mentioned it's something with the acid in the stomach. So is that because of the mutation of the MTHFR? It's affecting your acid levels in your stomach as well then?
No, that one isn't MTHFR
okay.
specific. It does.
Okay.
So we have reduced acidity because of stress, because of age, because of
Okay.
medications that we're taking, genetics.
Okay.
Not MTHFR related genetics, but that
Related.
can
Okay.
happen. And then there are
Okay.
some people that they get a little bit of an upset stomach after eating, and then they take an antacid. Well, that actually reduces the acidity in the stomach and makes things worse,
Yes.
not better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's other reasons for it, but it's just important. And then from there, when because again with MTHFR variants, that can show up a variety of different ways. So I always say, like, get your foundational 5, make sure you're getting your essential nutrients taken care of. And then if sleep is the issue, we could look at GABA or ashwagandha, like you mentioned. If stress is are an issue, there's a ingredient called Rolora, which is a combination of philodendron and magnolia extracts. I love that one for people that are just dealing with high levels of perceived stress during the day or high cortisol.
Okay.
But then if it's other issues, more cardiovascular issues or detox issues, then that's where you get a little more targeted on supplement support. But then going to nutrition, because again, it's not just about the supplements. You can get more folate through leafy greens. Avocado is a great source of folate, but it's also high in histamine. So that's something to be aware of. So when I just talk MTHFR, I can be pretty specific, but then as soon as somebody says, well, hang on a second, I got histamine issues, well then, okay, we got to take avocado off of there. And
so then where does folate and creatine fall in? Because I would love to chat about those. And folate, you can test for that, right? To see where you are in your levels, and then that can show you if you need to take additional folate?
Well,
or no?
You can test for B vitamins, B12 and folate.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who test high who aren't even supplementing. And the issue isn't because they're consuming too much, it's because their cells aren't actually taking it up. And that could be because they have systemic inflammation, high stress. And so I'm sort of on the fence as to whether to test B vitamin status and whether that's meaningful or not. But in terms of how much to take, and I just look at get a high quality multivitamin that's got methylated B vitamins in it and start there. Some people who are, and this is about probably now a third of those who are trying to help with their MTHFR issues, will have another set of genes called COMT, and they'll have a variant where they actually have a harder time clearing catecholamines or stress hormones, and they also tend to be overmethylators. So a little bit of methylated B vitamins, and they get anxiety and jitters, irritability. In guys, they might become short-tempered and just extra cranky, crabby. So in those cases, there's other forms of B vitamins that are still highly bioavailable, but don't have the methyl groups. So in general, again, just to make it clear, the methylated B vitamins are valuable because you want to support methylation when you have MTHFR mutations. If you have the COMT, slow COMT, you're more likely to feel anxious and jittery from methylated B vitamins. So in those cases, I recommend calcium folinate, or it's also called folinic acid. Totally, completely different than folic acid. Folinic acid. And then for the B vitamins, it's hydroxycobalamin or adenosylcobalamin. The brand that I recommend that carries products like that would be Seeking Health. And Dr. Ben Lynch has been, I mean, he's really been the first guy that brought this to attention that, hey, not everybody should be using methylated B vitamins because it can actually make their mental health worse. And he's got a number of supplements that have those in them, including a multivitamin that's called Multivitamin 1 MF. So you can find that through Seeking Health. The creatine. So creatine,
tell me about
traditionally has been seen as a performance supplement, and at about 5 grams per day, it definitely helps with muscle function, muscle strength. It can even enhance lean body mass. But at higher doses beyond what you need just for muscle function, it has a dramatic impact on cognitive function as well. More recently, though, it's been shown to also support methylation. So in general, you would be great taking it. I mean, anybody that's trying to enhance methylation function, especially because they have MTHFR mutations, creatine would be great.
Yeah.
For those who are in that third of the population that has slow COMT and they get jittery from B vitamins, you're not getting methylation support from the alternative Bs, from the folinic acid and hydroxycobalamin, like you would with the methylated versions. So I strongly recommend with clients who have slow COMT and MTHFR that they're supplementing with creatine as a way to further support methylation, because they're at a little bit more of a disadvantage, if that makes sense.
Got it. And what type of creatine, though? Because then that's the other question. It's like you see all the different types of creatine. I use Full Script. My doctor hooked me up, so I get like a 10% discount. But within that, you could type in creatine, you get 501, so you don't know what you're looking for. So because I have a mutation, what type of creatine would I look for specifically? Creatine
monohydrate. So just plain white powder creatine monohydrate. So typically creatine comes, the raw material comes either from China, from Germany as a trademarked version called Creapure, or from the United States. Historically, I have just looked for brands that just have Creapure on the label. But there are reputable brands, practitioner brands that don't use Creapure, but they still test to make sure that it's completely pure creatine. So if your work, like Designs for Health, Seeking Health, Quicksilver, Thorne, Pure Encapsulations, Clean Athlete, Douglas Life, like those are all practitioner brands that I recommend from.
Yes.
Through Full Script.
Yeah, those are the ones I use too. They're really good brands.
Yes. However, there are a lot of
helpful.
other versions of creatine that have sugar in them. They've got all kinds of extra ingredients that are just there to make it sound like it's better, but you're just spending money on something you don't need to in those cases. Just plain creatine monohydrate. Plain. Yeah.
And it could be a capsule, right? It doesn't have to be like not a liquid, a powder. It can be in a capsule pill form, right? That's how you take.
It can, but you end up, in order to get 5 to 10 grams a day, you're going to take so many capsules that it's more expensive, and you're just putting, not that cellulose is bad, but it's a lot of plant fiber or tablet excipients and binders that you're throwing into your stomach that you don't need to.
Okay.
So I would just put it in a smoothie or water.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Does it taste bad? Are there flavors of it, or is it like a non-tasting?
No, it doesn't really have a taste. I mean, I usually just take the scoop, throw it in my mouth, and then chase it with some water.
So that's manageable.
And so it doesn't taste. It doesn't really taste like anything.
Okay. Well, that's good. So then are you seeing just a difference, though, in men and women and how they exhibit symptoms if they have a mutation like that? Or is you're seeing a big, what are some of the differences exactly then?
Women are definitely more sensitive to the effects of MTHFR than men are. And part of it is just the fact that estrogen tends to amplify a lot of the issues surrounding MTHFR. That, and the fact that guys just tend to be less likely to say, hey, something's off with me, and I need some help.
I don't know what it is, but
so it's possible that guys are dealing with it as much. They're more stubborn about seeking help. So, but yes, I do see the issue being more problematic for women.
Yeah. Okay. And also, as you mentioned, it could be, I guess, more significant if you're getting pregnant and things like that too, like where things can kind of really, I guess.
Yeah. Hormonal changes for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I got my hormones tested, I think last year. They're like non-existent, but I don't want to do any like hormone replacement therapy because I'm just not comfortable doing that. So like I'm trying to like supplement and like learn from people like you as what's best to take, knowing I'm going through it, but also then have the MTHFR. So It's fun. It's a lot of fun, let me tell you. So then if someone like first learns that they have this, and I know they could be overwhelmed, like what's a good starting point? Is it to speak with someone? Who should they speak to? Like their doctor, or should they look for like an expert such as yourself? Like where would you, I guess, in addition to directing them to yourself, where would you suggest they go for some help or support?
Well, I think the first step is just having the right perspective on what MTHFR means. So sometimes people will message me frantic, and they'll say, I was just diagnosed with MTHFR. You aren't diagnosed with MTHFR because it's not a disease. It's just a genetic state. So you identified something that you've always had, and it didn't turn into something just because of a test. So what your genes tell you is, if you don't support them, here are some of the things that you could be looking at. If you eat the standard American diet and you're not going to exercise, or you're going to over-exercise and you're not going to listen to your body, you're going to put yourself through a bunch of stress. Here's a whole bunch of things that MTHFR is going to cause you to be more likely to end up with. But if you support the gaps that the MTHFR mutation leaves for you, or the other genetic variants that you may find that you have, you can be healthier than 99.9% of the population who doesn't have those gene variants, and they're just choosing to not eat and exercise appropriately. So, so I think the perspective is important as a first step. So then the next question is, well, what does it really mean to support your health when you have an MTHFR mutation? One, it's making sure you're getting enough quality folate within a high quality multivitamin. Again, the answer isn't just to take folate when it comes to MTHFR, and that's a thinking that I'm constantly having to unwind. For the doctors who are somewhat knowledgeable about MTHFR, their knee-jerk recommendation to patients is, oh, you have MTHFR, just take folate. Well, that's not the full solution, and it isn't just about folate. It's about supporting methylation in general. So then, who do you go to get support? Well, I mean, I don't have... I would ask a practitioner before you invest with them, hey, I've got some genetic variants, including MTHFR mutations. What's your level of knowledge around this? What do you do with clients? And to test them out that way. Like, I don't know of like even a dozen practitioners that I would recommend people go to. Fortunately, Gary Brecka has talked about it a lot. Ben Lynch has talked about it. I have not read his book, but I have people who talk about it all the time. Dirty Genes. So I know that's been heavily recommended. And I have nothing against reading it. What I tell people is I try not to read other practitioners' work, because then I don't want to just end up having my content somehow be another version of what they've already said. I try to keep everything unique. So that's why I've intentionally not read Dr. Lynch's book, but I really value everything that he's brought to the conversation and the products that he's made available. So those are a few practitioners where you could learn from and leverage the content that they've created. But I also, like, when it comes to MTHFR, I don't want to overemphasize, or how can I say this? I don't want to make it sound like if you have MTHFR, you're doomed. You're not. There's all kinds of extremely healthy people, just like you are, Stephanie. You kind of figured out how to manage your life and eat well with it. But there are things you can do that can make things worse.
Well, and what I would say is I think diet is very important, because if you, I also think you need to know what you can and can't eat in general, because there's a lot of foods that you shouldn't be eating that are just toxic. But if you have any sensitivities, you need to know what that is as well. And I also think working out, and you mentioned earlier, like I said, I work out. I also think you need to know the best workout for your body. So for example, I did for a good couple years, I was doing Orange Theory. And I thought I loved it. I was like on the treadmill, I was working on my running, and I couldn't do the rowing because of my back, but then I do all the floor stuff. But all that did was actually make me more sick, and I wasn't losing weight because that running was actually making my system stressed, and it wasn't good for my body. And I don't know if that is because of my MTHFR mutation. And I couldn't do it anymore. I was like getting sick. Does that make sense? Like, have you heard of that and seen like somehow certain workouts are not best suited for your certain body, right?
Yeah. More often than you can imagine. And the example,
Okay.
I kid you not. It's like, oh, I was doing Orange Theory, and they did Orange Theory because their friends loved it, and their friends just have the resilience that they don't, and they tried to keep up with them, and it wrecked them. It could be Orange Theory. It could be CrossFit. It could be a group fitness class, like your favorite instructor that's just a beast and you love to keep up with her and she motivates you, but then you feel completely wiped out the rest of the day. MTHFR mutations do reduce your capacity for physical or mental stress. And so a lot of times we're talking about the mental stress, but physical stress it's the same thing on your body. And so I recommend walking and traditional weight training. And I'll even, like in some of my posts, I talk about rest-based resistance training, which really just means you do a set and you take a rest. You do a set and you take a rest, so that over the course of a 40 to 60 minute training session, the majority of the time that you're training, you're in a parasympathetic rest state, and you're spending small bouts of time in a sympathetic state. That is far better for your longevity and health than the nonstop 40 to 60 minute workout that is popular with Orange Theory and a lot of other. I mean, Orange Theory is not the only one out there. So exercise you got to be smart about, for sure. The one other thing I neglected to mention, which I say all the time, totally overlooked it, is the importance of protein when you are when it comes to nutrition. So with women, I consistently recommend 0.8 grams and it could be higher. I mean, you could just say 1, but minimum of 0.8 grams per pound goal body weight, spread over 2 to 3 meals, ideally 3 meals per day.
So, all right. So I want to wrap this up, but is there anything else that we didn't touch upon that you wanted to make sure we mention as it pertains to the MTHFR mutation? Like you said, it's not a death sentence. It's just something to be mindful of and how it affects your everyday life. And if you're like feeling moody or sluggish or depressed, I think it's just good to know your full kind of makeup of how your body works, right? And what's going to be the best food, exercise, and supplement for you if you have this mutation.
Yeah, I think that the one other thing that I should emphasize here at the end is that MTHFR, as I said, amplifies whatever issues that you're dealing with, whatever shortcomings your diet, lifestyle, and exercise have. And so the one other thing we didn't spend too much time talking about is sleep. And if you are not getting good sleep, then the methylation issue is going to be amplified. You're going to be more prone to detox problems, to mold issues, to you name it. It's going to be problematic. And so when I'm working with a client on a program, like, we don't try to do everything all at once. I break things up into like 4 to 6, sometimes 8 weeks, and say, here's what we're going to address for the next period of time, the next 4 to 6 weeks. And if sleep is a problem, that's almost always where we start. I want to make sure that people are getting at least 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep. You can start with, trying to support it with supplements, 5-HTP, ashwagandha, GABA, Mazanol. There's a whole bunch of different, Relora, like I said, that can help as well. And then making sure we get you to sleep and that you stay asleep. Peptides, even. I mean, we could spend some time talking about peptides. I've heard all about peptides too. Sleep as well.
Yes.
So Sermorelin is an amazing peptide for enhancing sleep quality, and I've had a lot of success with clients just with that. So, I would look at it when you're trying to deal with MTHFR. The question is, what specific issues related to MTHFR are the most problematic? And then tackle them one at a time. And if it's stress related, it's got to be sleep that you start with if sleep is a problem.
Well, because sleep is so healing. Everyone needs it. And people don't realize the value of your body, like, truly regenerates at night. And you need sleep. That's like sleep, eating, exercise. It's all connected, And I don't think people understand that connection necessarily. But really quick, I know you have a practical guide to MTHFR gene mutations that you offer your clients or anyone listening. Can you tell us a little bit about that and where they can find that and how they can reach out to you in case they need some support or help or even just guidance? Because like I said, it is very overwhelming. I happen to have a lot of time on my hands to do a lot of research. So I reach out with people like you, and I will save your post and read all the vitamins and all that because I have the time, but I know a lot of people don't. So I really just want to guide them in the best direction possible to have a healthy life.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something to just kind of start learning and get it for free, I would encourage you to check out my Instagram account. So my handle is just Tom Nikkola, TomNikkola. I post on there 3 times a day. It just vary either a reel or a carousel. For years, I wrote over 400 long form articles on health and nutrition. What I love about Instagram is the ability to take like a carousel, have a reasonable amount of content that's consumable in about 90 seconds and pass some good information along. So I quit the long form stuff. I actually shut down that part of my website and try to just pass that information along through Instagram. If you want more of a guide, which I put together, which is actually like a plan specific to MTHFR, it includes exercise recommendations, nutrition, lifestyle. There's a 4-week, you get 4-week access to my training plan. To check that out, just go to tomnikkola.com/IG for Instagram, and then you'll find the guide and all that information there. Yeah.
Got it. Awesome. So then just one last question. So what is on the horizon next for you? I mean, I know you have your hands full, you coach people, you help people and all of that. What are you stepping into next? Is there anything on the horizon we should know about?
Well, I love doing the guides, like you talked about the MTHFR guide. I've got an MCAS guide because I love to create something that's simple, consumable. It's a nominal cost.
Tangible.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of other issues that people have been talking about that they're dealing with. The most recent one was MCAS, and that guide has become super popular, super fast. But I'll continue to create those, do my coaching, and I mean, frankly, I because we are co-raising our grandson, we have him 3 days per week or 2.5 days every week.
Oh, nice.
I try to keep my schedule to just working with as many clients as I can when he's not with us, and creating the content and these guides, and that's about all that I can take on. And then doing a podcast now and then, which I appreciate you reaching out and asking me to do. Yay. But as far as bigger stuff right now, I think I'm going to just stay focused on this and continue working with people as I have been. Yeah.
That's great. And I'll have to have you back on because I feel like we just focused on one topic today. I'd love to get you on to talk about the MCAS and beyond because like I said, I'm not in the health field by any means, but I'm so immersed in it, like personally with my family. And I just want everyone to be healthy because you can be healthy. Instead of taking all these pills, I'd rather someone take a supplement and eat healthy and heal from the inside out, and then live a longer, healthy life because I just see so many sick people and they're just doing what their doctor says or not thinking outside the box. So thank you for what you do and for sharing, all your posts. They're certainly helpful to me. I share with my sister. And for anyone listening, please check Tom's Instagram page out. It's super helpful. And to your point, there's a lot of children, I think, that are really struggling with they're on the autistic spectrum. Even if it's mild, they still have a lot of issues with the gut issue and the brain inflammation. And then if you compound it with the MTHFR, like my niece, it's like, the perfect storm. And so I'm thankful for you for sharing what you know about it, because I think we need to get more of this topic out to people to heal, really just to heal at the end of the day. So
it's my pleasure.
I appreciate you.
Your point at the end, I think that's probably the best part of this podcast is just that I can't remember exactly how you said it, but everything in the human body is fixable, or almost everything is fixable.
Yes.
And so it just takes persistence and patience and not a victim mindset, but one that says, hey, I'm going to find the answers and I'm going to keep searching for it. And I broke my neck 3 years ago mountain biking.
Oh my God.
I went off a bridge and ended up completely upside down and landed like when people jump into a shallow pool or something, just right on the top of my head, upside down. Fractured a couple
you're lucky
vertebrae.
You're not paralyzed.
I had no feeling in my legs when it happened, and my hands were like this for for at least a few weeks. But I had emergency surgery that day. But the point with it was, I crashed, and as I was laying on the ground waiting for EMS to come out into the woods on the mountain bike trail to come and get me, I just laid there and I said, I'm going to make the best of whatever I have, and there whatever solutions I can figure out to help heal from this accident, I'm going to figure it out. And so if you're dealing with MTHFR, if you're dealing with POTS, if you're dealing with autoimmune issues, there are solutions. Yes. They're not going to happen overnight. But if you're consistent and persistent, you can. The human body is amazing at how it can heal from just about anything.
Yeah. And your body wants to heal. I think people forget that. Your body is made by God for it to heal, and it will heal if you give it the right environment. And I think so many people just forget that, unfortunately. Yep. So thank you for being on today. I'm definitely going to have you on again, because I know there's so many more topics that I would love to discuss if you have the time. But thank you so much. And everybody, I'll make sure I link all of his information when this episode's air, so you can check him out. Tom, you're amazing. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day, and God bless. You got it. Thanks everyone. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe to Second Act Sessions on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune in. And if today's episode resonated with you, consider leaving a review. It helps more than you know and makes it easier for others to find these stories and start their own second act.